Hello guys, welcome to another Banter Blitz with me, and I hope you had fun with King's Crusher. Now it's time to play some positional chess, I hope. Well, we'll see, just as usual. Let's have a look at the situation with challenges. We already have some. And normally I start with guys I've never ever played before, so let's have a look if we have somebody, well, almost everybody who challenged uh, didn't play a game against me. Well, 2 of 4 are definitely kind of newcomers here to the show. So let's start with Regensamla. I'll accept the challenge. And I'm playing with white pieces. All right, let's go e4. So just as usual, let me know in chat if you can hear me, if you can see the board, the everything just normally. All right, bishop b5, a6. Okay, let's try bishop takes c6. It worked just fine several sessions in a row, so why not? Exchange to Lopez and queen f6, my favorite move here, by the way. So I play queen f6 with black whenever somebody captures on c6. Very nice. All right, let's play d4. And bishop to g5. So we're attacking the queen. Theoretic move here is queen to d6, I guess. I don't really remember. I think queen takes d6. And then if queen d4, then there is an exchange of queens. And we have a normal ending from the Roux-Lopez exchange, but the difference that the pawn is on c6, not on c5, which means white doesn't have the access to d5 square. That's the point. All right, and that goes to e7. So now rook to d1 looks very tempting, but then bishop can go to g4. I can play probably something like knight to e5, queen takes g5, takes g4, queen g4, and everything is protected there. So one thing I can do here is just to play knight d2 or something like that, just continuing the development. It's one possibility. Another one is to play queen to e3, a bit strange move, but I want to play knight e5 next move, for example. There is also an option of just playing bishop f4, attacking c7. So I don't know which move is better here. I would just stick to normal development one, knight to d2. So there's really nothing to do on c3 when the pawn is on c6. Because knight cannot go anywhere from c3 then. From d2, this knight potentially may occupy c4 and go to a5, attacking b7. It may be useful, especially if black castles queenside later on. Another option for this knight is to go to b3 and then to c5, let's say. Also an option. Okay, so bishop e6. What about attacking c7 now? Like bishop f4 looks very tempting. Let's try that. I mean, queen is far away, right? So c7 should be protected somehow. There is an option of playing rook d8, rook d7. So rook d8 attacking my queen, and then rook d7, there is knight e5 at the very least. Moreover, after rook d8, I have probably something like queen a7, annoying move. Well, it should be at least, because b7 will be attacked as well, in addition to c7 pawn. So black may have some problems now with protecting vulnerable pawns, squares, and so on. Should I go to a7, or it's okay just to put the queen on e3? By the way, if bishop h3, then I always have bishop g3, so it's not a threat whatsoever. So I guess I can play queen a7. So maybe I'm blundering something, but for now it looks like a move that actually attacks one more pawn. Feels like we are going to have some sort of, material advantage already after this. Rook d2 makes no sense, just knight d2. Yeah, everything is overprotected there in my camp. So how to protect both b7 and c7? I don't know. And black has some problems with the development here. That's why queen g6 I think is a bit premature, so that's why after bishop g5 usually, well, black plays queen to d6 to exchange queens if white captures with a queen on d4. And only if white takes with the knight, then later queen goes there. That's the idea. Okay, queen f6 attacks my bishop and pawn b2, but I can play bishop e5, attacking the queen, and then taking on c7. I can start probably with bishop takes c7. I don't see anything wrong with that move. So let's just capture the pawn, attacking the rook. And I think black cannot go away from the back rank. It will be at least very dangerous. For rook c8, we can go back with the tempo on e5. So we're pawn up already, and feels like b7 drops next move. After queen moves to either g6 or h6. Queen doesn't have other squares, by the way. And we're going to have 2 extra pawns. a6 is super weak, and I don't see compensation, to be honest. So simply no compensation here, because white is much better developed. Right? So normally if you sacrifice a pawn in the opening stage, you want to have better development. You want to grab the initiative. But here black doesn't have anything like that. So it's going to be hard for black to survive it. Still not clear where this knight is going to go, actually. Because if this knight stays on e7, then what to do with the bishop f8? So as I said earlier, once the bishop is on h3, we can play just bishop g3 covering the g file. Now bishop is hanging, so it's another kind of tempo move. Okay. Yeah, so position is just lost, I suppose. So bishop d7. Now I can take on d7 and play knight e5, just simplifying the things. I can start with knight e5 and then take on d7. I guess everything works just fine for white here. I can also start with rook d1 probably, because I don't see a threat. So if I play knight e5, then just exchange everything. I have technically winning position, no questions, 2 extra pawns and so on. But I think since black is so behind in development, maybe it's better for me just to play for attack. Let's say, what about this move? Just rook d1. Intending to play knight c4 next move. By the way, knight c4 immediately was also pretty cool. Intending knight to d6. Yeah, missed that. But knight c4 right now also looks amazing. So what's better? Just to play knight c4 or to play knight b3? I think everything looks great. So let's go to c4. Queen cannot take this knight because of queen d7 checkmate. I have a threat of knight b6 and knight d6 at the same time. I also have a threat of some like knight g5 attacking the queen. And then if queen goes away somewhere, I just take the bishop. Or if queen goes to g4, there's h3 again attacking the queen and then taking the bishop. Black shouldn't be able to actually protect everything here. So let's go knight g5. If queen e7, then knight d6 wins. If queen g4, then h3 wins. So it's over now. Queen g4, knight e5. No, e5 is control. Okay, never mind. So knight e6 check. And after king d8, knight g5 takes f7. Maybe queen b6 is even better. I mean, if king d8, queen b6, rook to c7, then kind of knight from d6 goes to f7. I don't know, everything wins here, basically. Queen c8, do we have queen c8 here? Bishop c8, knight b7, well, probably. I mean, everything wins here. All right, so as I said, after bishop g5, main move is queen to d6, and if I take with the queen here, you just take, exchange queens, and then just bishop d7, knight e7, castling, just a normal ending. The difference is that your pawn is still on c6, so you don't have to play c5, and this means this knight doesn't have a simple maneuver, knight c3, knight d5. That's the point here. All right, so another challenge. I've seen the guy I've never played before. Yeah, from Norway. Let's play. Yeah, no games so far, except And black pieces. Okay, let's see. Santi joined the stream. Hello. d4, knight f6. So I usually play into Indian, queen's Indian, or if white plays something like g3, I play close Catalan. So I just play d5 and we enter the close Catalan pretty soon after that. So f3, very interesting system. Intending to apply e4. And, well, I like this move. I confused the thing. So f3 is played after knight c3, knight b4. If we talk about Zemesh. So yeah, here we have a transposition. So white could have tried e4 actually. Now without even playing knight to c3. Well, interesting f3 move. Probably the best response for black was just to play d5 actually. I don't know. Nevertheless, let's play d5 here. So that's the point behind knight c6. Looks strange, right? The knight on c6, but the idea is that once white plays both c4 and e4, d4 is no longer that great. So it may be an object of attack. That's why the knight is here on c6, just exerting pressure on d4 already. After e5, of course, we have to spend some time on bring the knight to normal position. So through e7, it may go to f5 pretty soon. So after a3, the question is how to react. If we move the bishop to a5, there is b4 and c5 trapping the guy. If we take on c3, well, it's just not good for black, I think, in this particular case, because it strengthens the pawn on d4. On the other hand, we have some tactics. So bishop c3, bc3, and then d takes c4. Can we play something like that? Because if bishop takes, then knight e5 takes, queen h4 check, queen takes the bishop. Typical thing, but the question is, if we have a chance to actually protect that pawn once it is attacked twice, like bishop takes knight, pawn takes, dc4, queen goes to a4, attacking the pawn twice already. Now I'm not sure that we can protect that pawn after that. So the pawn structure will be not good. But what to do? Just to go back to f8? That's stupid. I mean, it's not how it is played for sure. Okay, let's just take. I know it's probably not the best move. But for some reason, I don't see anything better for now. Maybe I confused something already, but at least bishop takes c4 is not the best. And now I can take on e5. That's the thing, right? So force rank is weakened, and here's queen h4 check possibility. So instead of taking on c4, I think queen to a4 was a move. Then trying to take on c4 a bit later without actually handing that pawn. Because now I'm just a pawn up. Well, white will definitely have some compensation for it because of pair of bishops, but in general it's just a material advantage for black, I think. Yeah, I have some problems with the light script bishop. It's a bit passive, but I think I have, you know, just good options of bringing it to active position a bit later. So something like b6, bishop to b7 or a6, depending on what white is going to do. Because, yeah, indeed, if pawn remains on f3, for example, I don't think that bishop b7 will be logical. Okay, let's castle. Let's castle now, and the next will be what? So I have some knight moves, like knight d5 or knight g6, targeting that bishop. But my main goal is to complete the development, so I think b6 is anyway better than anything active with the knight. So I like the approach when I have all the pieces developed prior to, you know, doing something active somewhere. So let's put the bishop on a6 now, pinning the knight, and exerting some indirect pressure on c3 pawn potentially. Bishop g5, what's the point? I cannot play knight e5 or something for now, but I can probably try some like queen d6, right? Can I? Just going away from the pin, attacking a3 pawn. And intending to play some like knight d5 probably. Or again, just knight g6 or knight f5 or something like that. Queen c2. I cannot take the pawn because of rook a1, but I can start with bishop e2, I guess. In that case, we will have what? We will have 2 knights against 2 bishops, but 2 extra pawns. That's interesting, actually. So, is it good for me or not? Or it's better just to start with something less committing? Knight to a5 looks also good. Just playing for c4 square, let's say. Yeah, let's just play positional way. I want to take the bishop, which is very important for white here, because without that bishop, it's hard to attack on the king side. And if there is no attack on the king side, then I'm just a pawn up, right? So now let's just do this. Basically getting rid of that bishop. So exchanging it. And if bishop c4 and knight c4, my knight occupies pretty good position, I guess. I cannot probably take on a3 because of rook a1 and my knight is kind of trapped, so I have to be careful here. And I don't have so much time at my disposal, so let's just play faster and play normal moves. Natural ones. Alright, simplification is not bad when you have extra material, right? What happened? Rook to d1, okay. Rook to d8, makes sense. Let's play c5. Rook to c8. Improving positions of my pieces, probably h6 is also not so stupid, just to eliminate the risk of being checkmated on the back rank. Alright, so now my knight has the access to c4 square. That's very good. I think we just keep rooks on the board. They're gonna be useful in attack against opponent's weaknesses. Okay. So we're getting somewhere, I think. a3 is handy now, for real. Check, okay. Let's go away. Let's take the pawn. Let's take one more, I guess. Nothing wrong with that. Rook d7 is a bit annoying, though. And that was a stupid move. Yeah, definitely. I mean, this rook d3 was bad. All right. So this, my standard problem with bad technique, just doing some stupid things here, as you can see. And now my position is not even better, I think. So my only hope is to move that pawn. My God, how bad the position has become. Oh, and there is a checkmate, and avoidable. Oh gosh. I'm so bad in this game. I mean, it was so smooth, but then I spoiled everything here, like a complete idiot. Yeah, there is no chance to avoid a check. Oh gosh, rook g7 is coming. Yeah, you know how bad one should be to spoil the position after rook takes a3. Yeah, after knight d4. Come on, who cares about that pawn? I mean, why did I even Why did I even think about taking on c3? Just giving my opponent exactly what he wants, this rook d7 move. Well, okay, rook c3 was not necessarily that terrible. It was okay. But after rook d7, come on, just protect this f7. And, well, I think black is still all right, having two extra pawns. But anyway, the best way is just to prevent anything risky. And, you know, just play something normal like knight b1, attacking the pawn, for example. Just taking it with the knight, with the comfort. No counterplay whatsoever. Oh my god. That was a good lesson, by the way. So, never do something like rook takes c3. Well, obviously I was in the severe time trouble, but it's a lame excuse in this case, because it was clear that the 7th rank is the only thing that white may use here to get some chances, right? So 7th rank should be just covered, whatever happens. All right, anyway, thank you for showing me how not to play chess. I mean, you did everything to prove that my play was stupid at the very end of the game. And it was just a great demonstration of how not to play. I mean, what I did. Sorry for that, guys, but anyway, it was fun. Okay, so somebody else I've never ever played before. So here's Chess Cadet. I'll accept. And then just one by one. All right, e4. Fantastic. I mean, yeah, I'm in a very bad shape now. And usually when you are in a bad shape, you either, blunder something, or you have a problem in the time trouble, because that's exactly where you play badly when you're in a bad shape, because you have to play fast, but bad shape means you need much more time to make each and every decision. And when you try just to play fast, you make bad decisions. That's the problem. Nevertheless. Okay, so what do we have here? So-called Sicilian attack, if I'm not mistaken. Queen goes to g4. Black usually castles here. Yeah, bishop then goes to h6. Pawn goes to g6. So black is sacrificed in exchange. And again, as far as I remember, h4 is more promising than simply capturing that rook. Although that is also possible. But black has a compensation because of two bishops and this bad pawn structure on the queen side. But rook e8, just saving the rook. Well, as far as I remember, it should be just too slow, and my attack should be crushing after that. Just h5, bishop f8. Maybe I missed something and the theory was changed, but it should be kind of very bad for black. I think I can even play bishop d3 right now. But then queen a5, yeah, it's unclear. It's unclear, but yeah, let's try. Looks just very interesting. So now I take on g6. Bishop on h6 is hanging. But there is queen g5, wow. I'm blundering like in each and every game. That's fantastic. I mean, it's amazing. G takes f7 now, then queen to e4. It's no longer what I wanted to achieve. Why didn't I just take on f8 and did the same? I mean, so stupid. All right. Oh, of course we can take on f7, play queen f3 check, but then king goes to g7. So what? Rook to h5, queen to d2 check, king to f1. Far from being clear. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's terrible what I've done. But I still have some tricks because, yeah, I understand I am a minor piece down here. But black is not developed at all, so I should have some chances at least. God. Very bad play. So e5 is hanging. I don't want to exchange queens for sure. So let's bring the queen to e4. Queen d2, okay, king f1. I don't think it's really dangerous for me. So it's not a big problem. Let's focus on the king. Let's try to do something terrible for black's king. I didn't expect it would be so bad today. Rook h8, okay. Now what? Knight to b5 looks interesting. And then the knight to d6 or knight to c7, right? Knight to f3, okay, just queen f4, so I don't see a follow-up there. Yeah, I suppose this may be an interesting way to kind of continue with some sort of initiative here. If bishop goes away, we can take on h7, right? Also not necessarily something that gives us something tangible, but let's imagine bishop f8, just rook h7, queen h7, queen g7, for example. Then bishop g6 check, king e7, and queen h4. Back with some awful consequences for black. Okay, now I think it's interesting for us to try f4. Now let's go f4. Protecting e5, that's my idea. If queen takes f4, there is rook f1, so queen g3 should be played or something. But then king e2. And the next will be what? Rook h3 or something. We're still much better developed, and the king is quite vulnerable, so I still hope we have chances here. Yeah, I mean, this position is not very pleasant for black. It shouldn't be, at least. But of course, it would be much better for me not to blunder queen g5 and just not to leave the bishop on h6 hanging then. So I thought that after h takes g6, I will just regain the piece easily and so on. Otherwise, I would have just stepped back maybe to g5 or something and enjoy the attack with, equal material on the board. So that was so stupid what I've done. Now I want my knight on d6 anyway. Looks gorgeous there. Yes, and this is gonna be, winning position for white, I have a feeling. But I don't see a direct way to win. So f5 will be just another blunder because e5 will drop. We need only one more piece to attack the bishop and it will be trapped. But we cannot castle right now, because if we castle, what happens? e5 will drop again because f4 will be pinned. Maybe it's not winning position then. So what to do? Just castling short. That's also an option, by the way. Yeah, let's do that. Just rook to e1 and then f5. Attacking. Continuing the attack. Yeah, I understand it's much better to have the rook on the h file, but I didn't see any better way to bring other pieces to the attack. All right, let's bring this rook to e1. Now we are ready completely. So just f5 and here we go. Let's do it. Okay, let's just bring that pawn to f6 to have at least some sort of compensation. So now we have this passer. Again, not clear what we achieve with that. Come on, check. Don't see anything, so let's just take that pawn. Come on. Come back to d6. To f3. And no time whatsoever on the clock. Very bad. My God, I'm playing so bad in this game, and in the previous one, really, it's just a piece of crap what I'm doing on the board. Oh, shit. Yeah, it's just embarrassing. Yeah. Okay. Oh, goodness. Goodness. That was so stupid. I mean, h4, rook e8, h5. Come on, it's just 2 moves in the attack, and after bishop f8. Well, I think this bishop d3 was just so, yeah, impractical even. So why on earth would you sacrifice a piece here when you can just take on f8, take on g6, or I don't know, whatever you want, basically. Bishop g5. Well, this looks logical to exchange the potential defender of dark squares, right? And then after rook takes f8, simply, I don't know, bishop d3. Or take on g6 first, and then bishop d3 or something. So you have a direct attack on the king side, and so on. So bishop g5 is also all right. I mean, yeah. That's strange. So normally black doesn't do that. So normally black just plays knight c6, I think, or queen a5. Still sacrificing the exchange because it's just too slow to go away. And then h5. So thought about offering a draw or something. Why on earth? You had a better position. You had a winning position at some point, I think. So you didn't have to offer a draw. At the end you were just winning, so everything is okay, my friend. Everything is okay. That's just me playing very strange moves. So once again, let's have a look and try to understand why I even did that. So bishop d3, bishop h6, h6. I didn't see queen g5 whatsoever, so for some reason I just didn't look there. I felt like, okay, bishop is hanging, there is a threat of g takes f7, so it's gonna be just lost, right? But then queen g5 and black is okay. I mean, g takes f7, king f7. Okay, I can take on g5, take on h7, but it's an endgame, and I don't have enough resources, I think, to deliver a checkmate. Maybe that was wrong. Maybe that was okay for me just to play like that. King is forced to the back rank, I mean, and then simply, I don't know, king e2, rook h1, and something like checkmate. Maybe that works. Let's have a look. King g8, let's say king e2. Is there a good defense for black now? Just rook e7, right? Yeah. Just good enough. But then I have this move, anyway. Saving the rook on the board, attacking the bishop, then another rook goes to h1. This bishop is misplaced, by the way. If bishop f4, I can trap it with g3 if I need. Something like rook g7 should be played. And then, for example, rook to h1, intending to win the bishop on c8 at very least. So I guess knight c6. Yeah, and then I don't see anything specific. So yeah, I can play this, but then king goes there. So what? All right. Yeah. Kind of strange thing happened, really. All right, never mind. Let's try to fight Santis the next. I'm really curious if I'm going to play at least one decent game today. It's highly likely that I will not be able to do that after these 2 games. Not because, well, I'm devastated by these two losses, but just because, well, these two games demonstrate my current shape. I'm really doing badly. Sorry, guys. Sorry for that. Let's go away with the bishop. (92). All right, what about d5? Let's play aggressively. Of course, queen e2. Then knight to f1. Knight to g5. Okay, let's play bishop g4. After f3, I will just go somewhere with the bishop, and I'm curious what the knight is doing there on g5. Because after f3, like, has to go to h3 or something, which is not going to be very pleasant, I suppose. And now diagonal a7 g1 is completely weak. Yes, I understand that I spent several moves moving that bishop here and there, but, well, I think I forced some weakening in an opponent's position, which should be good. On the other hand, white is now ready to kind of sacrifice the knight there. But I'm not exactly sure that it will be, you know, a correct sacrifice. And white decided not to risk it and move the knight to h3. Okay. The next is going to be something like g4, g5, I suppose. So let's move the bishop back to e6 now it's possible. And here I wanted just to exchange that bishop, but maybe it's not correct idea whatsoever. What about knight h5? Now knight h5 looks interesting, but then d5 is hanging. So probably I have to start with something like d takes e4, and then move my knight to h5 and then do knight g3 or knight f4. It looks interesting. And knight to h5. So I want to jump to g3, which was weakened by h4. Knight to f4 may be also an interesting idea. Something like bishop takes knight, and then knight to f4, right? So now I can simply play knight g3 and take the rook, the whole rook, right? It's kind of blunder, I think. This knight to c4. But to be completely honest, it was not so simple to protect g3 square in the normal way. Because if queen f2, I wanted to play knight f4, and if takes, I will show you after the game. So white just weakened a lot here. And white is not that good developed. And queen h4 was a possibility, which I didn't see. I mean, knight g3 is just good enough in this particular case. The point is, I didn't even see queen h4. I didn't even see that with the knight h5. I attacked not only g3 and f4, but also h4 pawn. Oh, dear Lord. Why? Yeah. Well, sometimes you're just that bad. I mean, I should win some more, I think, after bishop c4. Bishop is hanging on e3 now, and if bishop takes a7, I have intermediate capture on b3 prior to taking that bishop on a7. So it's the rook and the extra minor piece in addition to that. So just a decisive material advantage. Simple as that. Okay, now I will finally take that pawn, which was actually hanging. After knight h5 move, yeah, and it's over. Okay. Not sure. After bishop e6, I would have played something standard like bishop c2, or maybe just knight to g3. So why not continue with the initial plan? Because if I take there and take the bishop, now I have the problems with protection of f5 square, right? And that's what you wanted to do, actually, to bring the knight to f5. So I need a bishop to watch that square. Now I don't have that piece on the board. So that's the one thing. Another thing which was interesting, yeah, a bit later in the game. So there, h4. Maybe I should have tried just leaving the knight in g5 here, and again just playing knight to g3, because if I take and move my knight somewhere here, resources, first of all d5 is handy, but I think f4 is the most challenging thing, because you want to bring your queen to h5 and just checkmate me very soon. So I mean, it's like probably a possibility to take the knight, but not right now. So for some time it will be there, and you have time to develop other pieces. Also interesting idea, because after this moves, I think it's already hard, really. So like h4 is handy if you play queen f2. As I said during the game, I just play knight f4, and I have a threat of knight d3, which is not so easy to protect. Well, you can play bishop c2 probably, but then I can take on h3. You'll have a terrible pawn structure, and if you take on f4, I take with the pawn, and the knight is pinned and attacked, so I win some material. So it's already a annoying position. All right, so GM Crusher 31 is the next accept. e4. So if you crush Grandmasters, I think you have amazing chances to crush me, because I'm just an international master. And we have Caracan here, and we play this exchanged line. My favorite weapon nowadays. You don't have to learn theory, you just play chess. That's nice. Bishop g4, and queen goes to b3 as far as I remember. That's the move here. Then knight d2, knight f3, and so on. One of the most popular lines here, this bishop g4 stuff. Okay, so e5, I think h3 is the move here. Let's remember, d takes c5. I guess there is something like knight takes c5. Is this that position in general? I think it is. It's pretty interesting stuff here. So I know it's possible just to take on e5, and if knight takes e5, no, after d takes e5, there is knight h5. That's the thing, yeah. Now I recall. So d takes c5, knight to h5, and then this stuff, yeah. So I think that is the move here. So e takes f4, h takes g4, kind of game of Shankland there, something like that. Yeah, king goes to f1 here for sure. And knight takes g4. Okay, so I'm not that sure it's a good move here, because I have what? I have this move with the idea of rook to e1. And black should have some problems with parrying that threat, actually. Rook to e1. If knight takes f2, just rook to e1 anyway, I guess. That's a bad thing to, to recall this stuff instead of just playing chess. It's really, really bad. what I'm doing right now. So let's attack. Let's do what? Let's check first. And now we can attack a pawn f4, right? We can also take on h7 if we want, but then our bishop may be trapped. So, what else? Rook to h5, now back to f6. Rook to f5 and takes that pawn. That's a possibility. Simply knight to f3 looks also interesting. Knight to e2 attack in f4 looks also interesting. Yeah, knight to h3 attack in f4 is probably the most accurate move here, just to make sure f4 will not go away. All right. Now what should we do? Just play g3, I suppose, because I don't want to damage my pawn structure. I just want to take that pawn like this. Knight g5, and then takes on f3. Now, interesting stuff happening here, but the goal here is just to get a slightly better pawn structure, because look, once we regain the pawn, all the pawns are good, but that on d5 is, you know, separated from the rest of the group, and it may be considered an object of attack. That's what white is trying to get in this line in general. Just a slight advantage, you know. All these complications to get this slight advantage, but anyway, it's better than, you know, playing something simple and get no advantage at all. Slight advantage is still the advantage, all right? Okay, so now I can take on f7. I think it's a blunder, isn't it? It looks like a blunder, so let's just take on f7. Bishop takes a3. That is something I should have actually calculated. But then I can take there, right? Yeah, that should be an exchange up. Because I want to take on c6 or go to e6, so well, I cannot just go away with the bishop here and trap my knight, which could have happened if I captured the rook on h8 instead of the one on d8, by the way. That's why taking the rook on d8 was, yeah, the right choice in this particular case. All right, so extra exchange now. Rook e8. Is it safe for me just to take on the 8? Queen takes, and then feels like I have everything protected on the e-file. There is some sort of activity. And my queen is a bit out of play. That's a bad thing. Can we bring it back quickly? Would be nice to have it somewhere on d1, and I don't see why I should have problems with bringing it to d1. Let's just bring it to d1 right now. So like queen a4, queen b3, yeah, and then to d1. Why d1? Because like f3 is a weakness. I want to attack it. I want to win it finally, because once there is no pawn on f3, I have no problems anymore with my king. My king will be just pretty safe on g2 or something. Yeah, it should be okay for me. g5. Intending to play what? Just g4 protecting the pawn, right? Maybe it's a good idea for me to play this move. To prevent that, I mean. Looks a bit strange, but, well, at some point I'm going to bring my bishop to f5 to protect that pawn, and that pawn will protect my pawn on f5. Oh, sorry, pawn. Maybe it will be like a pawn, but bishop on f5 actually. And g4 has another idea behind, so at some point rook h3 may be played just to bring the rook to attack that pawn. But for now, let's just attack it with the queen For example, if knight goes to e4 now, I cannot take on f3, but I can consider this rook h3 move a bit later or immediately. So that was the idea behind g4. Maybe just rook h7. I don't know. Can I play that move? Doesn't look that terrible, so. Queen to c8 though. Maybe a 9. No, it's too risky. Let's just play this move. King to g1. Now intended to take on f3 actually. And now rook to h3, attacking it the second time. And actually taking it. So king g1 just to avoid that fork on d2 or something. Yeah, it's gonna be good now. Finally, all right, let's take this one. Now, the pawns are not going to leave for long because they are all super weak. All right, so we'll just grab them one by one. Okay, I'm satisfied with this position. So, it was pretty tricky stuff, by the way. I think I forgot this theory somehow, so it's not that popular theory because in general this ED5 is not, you know, that popular compared to main lines. E takes f4, h takes g4. Yeah, I think maybe here I missed something. Maybe knight a3 is not a move whatsoever. Maybe something like knight d2 is played. Or maybe knight to h3 immediately attacking f4. This can be something. Yeah, so just knight h3 immediately. I don't remember, really. Don't remember. Yeah, it felt at some point that black solved the problems. 3, it's typical, yeah. g3 here, knight to g5. So here's a question about queen g4. Maybe it was about this very moment, but if you play queen g4, you miss queen b7, I guess. It's very bad. Maybe a bit later, I don't know. But I didn't see a moment when it was actually dangerous for white, this queen g4 move. I don't see a threat, actually. Maybe that was about this later moment. Queen g4. Maybe knight g4, no? It should be possible to play knight takes g4, but who knows? After you played knight g5, okay. After I played knight g5, yeah. Okay, let's just come back to that after this. Yeah, I mean, b7 can be captured. Isn't it bad for black? Just attacking the rook, the knight, potentially the bishop on e7. So rook c8 is a possibility, of course, to cover everything. But now you cannot take my knight because your rook will be hanging there. And I have something terrible for black, like bishop b5, I think. It starts looking very bad for black. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe after castling there are some tricks, but right now it looks pretty. If not lost, but definitely dangerous. Maybe I have something more convincing, like rook h4, just attacking the queen now. If queen g5, I just take the rook. If queen gets back to d7, right, at very least I will have extra pawn, right? Even after the exchange, let's say. f3 will drop soon, so extra material for white. Okay, so I think I answered your question. All right, next challenge, Onam, accept. Black pieces, okay. So it's an increment, 3 plus 2. Let's try to play a decent game. So previous one was already close to a decent one, I hope. So knight to f3 and e6. That's what I usually play here. And we have queen's Indian defense now, or the closed Catalan. So let's play closed Catalan. That's how we get it. just c6. Bishop e7, castling. Castling, then d5 at some point. Like here. And we get one of the lines of the Catalan with some transposition from Queen's Indian defense. It's another possibility to get this sort of stuff. All right, bishop f4. What do we play usually here? Something like knight d7, I think. Looks logical, attacking the knight, which is the defender of the c4. So developing the knight and exerting the indirect pressure on c4 pawn. Knight h5, yeah, knight h5 is played at some point as well. I think this stuff is also absolutely playable. So let's go this way. And again, if I'm not mistaken, no, I am mistaken because there is queen to a4. Ah, gosh. Yeah. c5 or b5. That is not what I wanted to achieve here, obviously. Okay, let's have a look. Bishop a6, if queen a4. What if we just protect the bishop with queen c8? There is still this threat of b5. It may be not so pleasant for white, right? Yeah, let's try that. And if b3, I have b5, b4. Tempo action. Which is quite typical for these positions. When white plays e4, when the rook is still on f1. So that's what I wanted to play. And then like queen b6, rook after d8, and some pressure on d4 pawn. Very similar to the game, for example, Gelfand against Paco Vallejo. It was a different line, but yeah. But knight a5 actually simplifies my task. I'm just taking it with a queen. So, was an accident. Now I'm just a minor piece up and have absolutely winning position. Let's try to actually win it. I have an experience from very first games today. I have to be very careful. Well, that's strange for Onam. Usually plays much better than this. But okay, blunders. This is something that happens to everybody. To everyone. No matter how strong you are. So. Blunders are just blunders. Okay, rook c8 I think looks good. Now we should actually protect our king a bit. So do we need this knight f8, then knight g6, or it's better just to take that bishop on f4? I think I will just take the bishop. Come on, I don't need that bishop on the board. It's pretty annoying. Now the next stage, what should be done? Something like c5. f5, e takes f5, queen f5. I don't necessarily see a threat. We can just come back with the queen to b6 then. An option, right? Yeah, let's just play that. Rook to c3. Okay. What about f5, e takes f5, knight f6, there is queen e6 check. That's bad. Okay, so let's just take the pawn then. Oh, b4 was a move. But anyway, there would have been this rook to g3. Okay, we're playing with the increment, but I'm still 20 seconds. So I have to play faster. I cannot be completely relaxed here. White is creating threats. Okay, knight f8 should be played. Then something like this. To have 7th rank for my heavy pieces. E6 is protected with the knight. 7th rank, I mean, to bring my pieces to protect the 7th rank, like queen c7, bishop somewhere, and 7th rank is covered, which is safe, which is good. That's why f takes g6, and the h file is also closed, so there is no checkmate on h8. What is this? Let's take that. Let's take that, just simplifying the things move by move. Now, queen b6, protecting g6 additionally, and intending queen to e6, just simplifying the stuff. Queen g4. All right, let's continue with the simplification with this strategy. Okay, let's take that one. No, let's take this one at the moment, because it's possible to take. Why not rook g3 first? Because then f g3, and if queen e6, there is rook f8 trick, I've noticed. So first, let's take that pawn and then just exchange pieces one by one. Right, right. Okay, in this game I was pretty lucky. So I just won the piece, and then the rest was was a good try from Onam. Absolutely. There was a question about knight f6. Probably that is about the moment when I played when I played g6, right? Or when I played bishop b7, probably. All right, if knight f6, I just take it, I think. If bishop b7, then I have rook b8 at very least. But probably the question is about e takes f6, intending queen g5, queen h6, and checkmate. Yeah, that is something I didn't actually even consider. Don't ask me why. I mean, I'm just in a terrible shape now. And by the way, that was interesting. I mean, how to cover g7. I probably have to control f6 pawn. That's the idea here. So maybe something like, but I don't have time. If I take on g2, there is queen g5 immediately. Probably rook d7 is a move here, which is super ugly, but probably enough. So rook d7, and if you play queen g5, I play queen d8, I think. So if queen h6, I take on f6. If you take on g6, I take f takes g6 again. My rook is just here in the 7th rank covering everything. But I'm not sure I would actually have found it easily, having not so much time on the clock. So that was definitely the best option for white, to try this knight f6. But I guess black's position is still defendable. Although, you know, I could have played it much better, just preventing all this sort of risk once again. Anyways, Kleiner Meister, accept. Black pieces again. Gonna play this game without blunders. Weak. It's hard for me to play the game without blunders, at least today. Yeah, I think after knight f6, bishop f6, bishop takes b7, rook b8 or something, then e takes f6, and if I take the bishop, then queen g5. Yeah, that was really annoying. So probably after knight f6, bishop f6, and bishop b7, I have to do something like bishop g7. I'm playing with two minor pieces against the rook. Still the advantage for black, I think, but no longer that clear compared to the game. Yeah, knight f6 was definitely the best move there. Okay, so Italian game. castles. I never play these positions with the bishop on g4, so whenever I get something like that, I'm trying to just bring the bishop to e6 as soon as possible. Exchange a light script bishop and so on. Following some examples of Kramnik, I think they're pretty decent. I mean, it's a logical strategy because that bishop is very good in this diagonal and anywhere. So it's a Spanish bishop. Although technically we play Italian game, but the slow Italian with the pawn on d3 is more like Roy Lopez, not like Italian itself. And that bishop is usually a very important piece. That's why I think it's a good idea to get rid of it. Okay, so let's get back with the rook for now, because it's ugly on a7, and white didn't create a direct threat, so I'm taking my time to improve my rook a bit. After b4, well, the first thing that comes to my mind is to do some like bishop c4 and then d5, because c3 is weak now. Weakened, at least. When the pawn is still on b2, I mean, this d5 is not necessarily something that should make white nervous, but when c3 is vulnerable in addition to d3, well, in my opinion, it's kind of annoying, at least. So that's why I'm trying to play d5 here. Okay, why decide not to capture? Probably a wise decision. Now we have different ideas. So at d4 looks also interesting because b4 is under pressure. So let's go there. So anyway, we're going to create some weaknesses in the opponent's camp. Yeah, here I wanted just to take this way. So it's now like, you know, sort of Sicilian in reverse, but without the bishop somewhere on e2 covering d3. So d3 should be a real weakness. All right. Right. Now the question is, which knight to take? This knight on b3 may go to c5, and I think it's annoying stuff. So I would rather take this one. Because that one on f3 is not necessarily that great. Now the question is how to put our pieces correctly. b5 is coming, right? So it's probably a good idea for me to prevent that. To have this b4 kind of constantly weakened. But I'm not sure if it is a good idea for me to play something like c6 weakening my b6 square. Maybe not so good idea. Basically, we can try queen d7 with a similar idea. Okay, don't want to make a decision on that b6 square right now, so let's start with this move, which is not only about controlling b5 square. Obviously, we are preparing rook to d8. So now white wants maybe to play d4, then e4 drops, but e5 will be under pressure. So should we do something specific here? Maybe queen g4, but then just b5. Hard to say. Let's play rook d8. I mean, if you have all the pieces in the center, it shouldn't be bad at least. Now, I'll probably just c6. It's hard to do anything active with the queen if the queen is pinned to b5 square. That's why c6 to control that square, and then my queen can be a bit more flexible. That's the idea. Now I have a weakness on b7, but that's the only one. Well, white has vulnerable pawn on b4 and on d3, so they're just protected very well right now, but who knows, maybe it will change in the future. So queen c4. really tempting to play just queen e6, exchanging queens, but is it the right idea? I think it should be correct one. If queen doesn't take my queen, I'll just play rook d7, rook d8, something like this. Maybe rook d6, rook d8. I don't know yet. If queen goes really far from the king side, I may think of also just playing knight h5, knight f4, something like that. So I wanted to play rook d7, obviously, but that was my mouth. Sorry for that. So rook d7 was the idea. It's probably the same, by the way. So just double rooks along the d file. Exert additional pressure on d3 pawn. Just like this. Queen e6, rook e6. Maybe rook d6 is not that stupid after all. Because now pawn is protected here. d4. All right, we can take the pawn on e4 in this case. And now we can take the pawn on d4. So we kind of won 2 pawns now. All of a sudden. Nah, that's of course because of the time trouble. All right, let's go there. Yeah, now it's gonna be just easily winning position. 2 extra pawns and super active pieces, right? But my technique is here, so sorry if I lose this one. And you know I can. Now in this position I should actually win easily. Because there's check and then queen. Okay. What? What happened? It's a draw? Why? Because, yeah. I didn't have enough time to checkmate my opponent's king with the rook. All right. Oh my god. That's amazing. That's amazing. There was a question about knight h5, but I was more focused on you know, attacking that d3 pawn. And actually it worked well. Yeah, but I should have played it faster. All right. And that's the thing. So the main lesson in this game is be careful with actually playing b4 if you don't control the center very well, because then I have this d5 idea, right? So that is what happened here. So yeah, that's the point. So now if you take on d5 and I take with the knight, not only do you have this, you know, d3 weakened, which is a typical thing when you give your opponent a chance to play d5, but also c3. That's annoying stuff. So you have to protect 2 vulnerable pawns here. Maybe b4 was too much. I would have considered something like queen b3, probably. Something like that. Alright, or just taking on e6 and then playing d4 at some point. Alright, so let's play against Sanket. Accept the challenge. Black pieces again. I was so slow in the previous game. Oh, shit. Okay, the hybrid. The hybrid. So knight c3 and knight f3. Leads to this bishop b4 and bishop b7, which looks simultaneously like the Queen's Indian and Nimza Indian defense. That's why hybrid, I think it is called. I guess this is the move here, then 94. And then what? Just taking on c3 immediately and playing d6, knight d7, something like that, right? Yeah, it should be this. So white has a pair of bishops, but not so pleasant pawn structure. And black has some activity here after f5. Flagging is absolutely usual tactic in Blitz. Yes, there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with just flagging your opponent. King to f1, what's the point? What's the point behind that move? Maybe it was about castling, but somehow didn't work. Just like my rook d6 in the previous game. Can I play h5 already here? Then h4, knight takes g3, f takes g3, g4, and knight goes to g5. It's not necessarily good for black, I guess. So let's play just queen e7. Flexible move. I mean, I don't know where I'm going to castle. There are still both options on the table. Aha, knight to d2. So there was just a protection of g2, right? That was the idea. Okay, that makes sense, honestly. That makes sense. And then f3 and so on. Yeah, makes sense. King f1. But the only problem is that the king is quite ugly there. Maybe it's not a big deal for white. Let's just protect the knight here. f3. So to take the bishop or to take the knight? I think knight will be more dangerous to me on the queen side if I castle there compared to that bishop. Let's take the knight then. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I underestimate the power of that bishop, potential power, I mean. There's also a problem with the f5 now, so at some point white may think of playing d5. It's not necessarily that dangerous right now, but I just have to be careful. So f5 should be overprotected. White has super straightforward plan here, just a4, a5, and so on. There may be just a c5 idea as well. Excuse me. So should I play a5 here? I think I have to prevent that a5 at least. I know it weakens b6, but that's why I exchanged opponent's knight, because I felt like if we have something like that with white's knight on the board, there should be something like knight b3 and c5, and I have serious problems with my pawns. Now, it's not so easy for white, at least at first glance, to play c5 in this position. So we should also get more active on the king side at some point. I just don't see how for now, because if we play h5, there is just h4. This stops literally everything. Oh. We can try an interesting thing, by the way. We can play h5, and if h4, then f4, ef4, and then g4. Typical stuff. And then g takes f3, and so on. Yeah, maybe that's interesting. We can also just play g4, actually. But it's better to provoke h4, because if we play g4 immediately at some point, there is bishop h4, maybe a bit annoying. But if the pawn is on h4, we actually ready to play g4 there. Yeah, there are different options for black how to open the position there, or at least try to open the position on the king's side. White has only c5, I think. I don't see any other resource. The question is, who's faster now? Not so easy to tell. Okay, let's play h5. If white doesn't do anything, I want to play h4, h3, and finally make my bishop active on b7. A rook to b1, so c5 or something. No, c5 doesn't look that dangerous, at least right now. So let's just play h4. King e1. What's going on? So it actually spends so much time. All these moves, I mean. Video and audio out of sync again. Oh my god. Feels like it's happening like each and every episode, and I don't know the reason why. What's interesting, it's not like right from the start, so at some point just something happens and it's broken, right? Shit. Sorry guys for that. I really don't know what to do with all that stuff. So now we have extra material. Pretty promising position, I want to believe. Let's get there. So to protect the bishop or just step back, I don't know. Everything looks pretty good now. I don't think we're at risk here, so let's just play g4. Queen to c1. Okay, queen h7 looks pretty natural now. Just to bring the queen to h2. Oh, rook h2 is possible to win the queen, right? All right, we're playing for a checkmate. I have an excuse, sorry. So here we go. That's our checkmate. Yeah. Yeah, hard to say where white made a mistake, because this pawn structure is pretty typical. Probably there were several, pretty slow moves. I guess queen to c2 is more interesting compared to rook to c1. So the idea is basically the same, but you just exert additional pressure on f5, for example. Yeah, here, queen c2, like this. If I play, I don't think I want to play f5 here, so usually takes, d6, bishop there, f5, and now you can play this move, if I'm not mistaken. And if something like e takes d5, there is a problem with the f5 potentially, maybe even immediately after knight d4, and then f3, or maybe f3, yeah, knight d4 first, and at some point f3, and my f5 is just, yeah, my f5 is simply under pressure, under serious pressure. You have pair of bishops and you want to open the position and so on. So I think that was interesting option, but it's just another direction of the theory. So I don't think that was wrong or something. King to f1, I mean, I don't know. Maybe this move exists. Yes, I know that knight d7 is a theory after d5. I know that. I was just trying to explain to my opponent why it's more interesting for white to try that, because after rook c1 is just too slow. That's the thing. So king f1, queen e7, knight d2, knight f6, f3. Yeah, so probably somewhere here you started playing too slowly, in my opinion. Maybe c5, just sacrificing the thing immediately. Maybe d5, but after d5 I wanted to play basically knight to d7 back to bring the knight to c5, so it's not very, dangerous for black, because if you take there, I just take with the queen, f5 is protected. If necessary, I will bring another rook to f8, and then knight to c5, and so on. So that's basically the idea. All right, guys, thank you very much for being with me. It was, yeah, pretty strange episode because I played really badly in almost, each and every game. So, yeah, sorry for that. Sometimes you just play badly. Sometimes you just have bad days. That was mine. Nevertheless, I hope you learned something new. I hope it was useful. Sorry for technical problems. And we should just great week, and hope to see you in 1 week. Bye-bye.